Okay, picture this. An 18th century woman who completely defies the strict, rigid societal norms of her time. She's labeled insane by her own village, right? Yet, she somehow goes on to become one of the most deeply revered spiritual figures in the entire history of Tirumala. Today, we're going to dive into this explainer all about the incredible life, the absolute unwavering devotion, and the massive modern-day legacy of Matru Sri Tarigonda Vengamamba.
The Bhakta imprisons God in his heart. So is God great or the Bhakta? I love this quote. It's a profound dialogue between God and Narada, and it really sits right at the core of our story. It asks us to consider how pure, unadulterated devotion can make a human just as monumental as the divine. It's this beautiful concept of Ananya Bhakti, total surrender. And honestly, no one embodies that quite like the woman we're talking about today. Her devotion was so intense, her name is literally forever linked with Lord Venkateshwara.
Now, jump forward with me for a second to the year 2017. The government of India actually released a commemorative postage stamp honoring her. Think about the gravity of that. 2 entire centuries after her passing, a woman who was once exiled by her own community gets officially immortalized on a national level.
But, her modern footprint is so much bigger than just a piece of postage. During her lifetime, she pioneered a free food charity. And today, that charity has evolved into an absolute marathon operation. The Matru Sri Tarigonda Vengamamba Nithya Annadanam complex is this sprawling 3-storied building in Tirumala, and it feeds thousands of hungry pilgrims every single day, completely free of charge.
So you've got to wonder, who exactly was she? To understand why her name is woven into the daily operations of one of the world's most visited religious sites, we need to rewind. Let's discover the remarkable, kind of mind-blowing story of the woman behind the legend.
Part 1. The Child of Tarigonda.
We're looking at a timeline here of an incredible 87 years. She was born in 1730 in a small village, made a massive life change to leave everything behind for Tirumala at just 20 years old, and ultimately entered eternal rest in 1817. So she was born in this village called Tarigonda, which actually has a fantastic origin story of its own. It was originally called Tarigonda, which literally translates to curd pot. The local legend goes that a woman actually found a stone statue of Lord Lakshmi Narasimha blocking her churning stick right inside her pot of curd. Vengamamma's parents, Kanala Krishnaya and Mangama, were from this deeply spiritual place. They prayed earnestly for years to Lord Venkateshwara for a child, and finally, those prayers were answered with a daughter. They named her Vengamamba.
But Venkama, while she wasn't your average kid, while other children were out playing, she was spending hours meditating, singing these beautiful original devotional songs, and crafting absolutely flawless flower garlands for the local temple. Her guru, Subramanya Desika, taught her ancient epics. And one story really stuck with her, Gajendra Moksha. It's the story of an elephant surrendering entirely to God to be saved. That idea of absolute surrender completely captured her imagination and really became the blueprint for her life.
Part 2. Defying customs for devotion.
Now things get intense. Despite protesting that she was already devoted entirely to the Lord, her parents arranged a marriage for her to a man named Venkateshalapathi. Tragically, he passed away shortly after they were married. Now in the 18th century, the rules for widows were incredibly strict. They were forced to wear plain white garments and strip off all their jewelry and auspicious markings. But Vengamamba? She flatly refused. She defiantly kept her Mangalsutra, her kumkuma, and the flowers in her hair. She boldly proclaimed that Lord Venkateshwara was her true husband.
You can probably guess the scandal this caused. The villagers literally called her insane. But instead of backing down to a society that entirely misunderstood her, she leaned in. She sought out a renowned teacher, Acharya Subramanya, who immediately saw her brilliance. He initiated her into advanced spirituality, teaching her yoga and the powerful Panchadasi mantra. Transformed into a true yogini, she left her village at the age of 20 and headed straight for the holy hills of Tirumala.
Part 3. The Secret Pearl Harati.
This is where the story gets super mystical. The legend goes that after the temple doors were locked up tight for the night, she would stay back. She'd recite her beautiful poetry and offer what's called a pearl harati, a literal lamp offering made of pearls. Every morning, the priests were totally baffled finding these unexplained pearls locked inside the sanctum. When they finally caught Vengamamba, they exiled her to a cave in Tumbarakona, a solid 15 kilometers away in the forest. But
her devotion didn't stop. According to local lore, the Lord himself actually created a secret underground passage from her cave directly into the temple. This allowed her to keep up her nightly offerings in total secret for 6 whole years.
Well, eventually, the authorities realized they were actively standing in the way of true divine devotion. They admitted their fault and officially invited her back to Tirumala, formally integrating her practice right into the temple's rituals. And it's incredible. To this very day, as part of the Ikanta Seva, the final nightly offering is the Mutyala Harati, the Pearl Harati, and it's offered by one of her actual descendants. They even close the temple doors immediately after this specific ritual is completed.
Part 4. The Poetess and her works. She wasn't just a devotee, by the way. She was an absolutely brilliant, prolific writer. She seamlessly blended bhakti, poetry, drama, and incredibly deep philosophy, all written in Telugu. She covered so many genres, from dramatic plays like Chenchu Natakam to intense philosophical treatises like Ashtanga Yoga Saram. Today, the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanams, the TTD, has worked meticulously to preserve and publish all these vast literary works. But if we're talking about her absolute masterpiece, her magnum opus, it has to be Sri Venkatachala Mahatyam. Guys, this is a massive collection of 2,000 poems dedicated entirely to the Lord of the Seven Hills. For centuries, devotees have firmly believed that anyone who reads these sacred verses receives Lord Venkateswara's direct blessings and finds real resolution to their life's challenges.
Part 5. An Eternal Spiritual Footprint.
Exactly 200 years before that commemorative stamp was issued, in the year 1817, during the holy month of Shravana, she achieved something most of us can barely comprehend. After a long, vibrant life of 87 years, she entered what is known as Sajiva Samadhi. Essentially, through highly advanced yogic power, she was interned alive. She consciously left her physical body while in a state of profound, deep meditation.
And what's really uniquely fascinating is where her resting place is today. Her Brindavan, or Samadhi, sits right out in the open, perfectly blending into the modern world. It's literally located within the playground of the SVBNR High School, just north of the Sri Varahaswamy Temple. Pilgrims can just walk right up and pay their respects, while normal school life happens all around it. And the spiritual belief there is still incredibly strong. Many devotees hold this firm conviction that she still visits the main temple every single night through Yoga Marga, the mystical path of yoga.
So, let's look at the big picture here. From the warm food on a tired pilgrim's plate in that massive 3-story complex, to the precious pearls offered in the dark of night, from national recognition on a postage stamp to thousands of poetic verses still chanted to this day. Vengamamba's fierce defiance of an oppressive society, fueled by her absolute devotion, literally shaped the modern fabric and the daily rhythms of Tirumala itself.
It brings us back to our big question. How does true, unyielding devotion transform a misunderstood village girl into a saint who continues to feed millions, both physically and spiritually, centuries after she lived? When you really look at the life of Matrisri Tarigonda Vengamamba, it truly leaves you wondering about the sheer world-altering power of simply living your inner truth, doesn't it?